Kevin, I got to get your feelings. I got to get your thoughts on the ass whooping that the Colts handed the Houston Texans today. It was quite
Well,
impressive.
I appreciate that. I'm going to take the win when we get it. Like I say every single week, a win is a win, and I will take the capitalized opportunity to talk about them really quickly. We ran the ball. Kyle and I have been saying this for what seems to be an eternity. Jonathan Taylor got 32 carries. That is how you win football games. That is how you win in the NFL. We had over 200 total yards on the ground, and that's how you win. Houston's a bad team. Both quarterbacks played absolutely atrocious. We were able to sack the quarterback. We were able to create turnovers. We lead the NFL in total turnovers for a reason. So absolutely phenomenal on the defensive side of the ball. So, pitching a shutout. It was the first time we've actually pitched the shutout on the road since 1992 against the New England Patriots, ironically enough. So Frank sees it. Everybody sees it in the media. They see it in the locker room. They see it on Hard Knocks, for God's sakes. If your starting left guard has to come to you mid-game and say, let's run the fucking football, you should probably run the football. Granted, Ryan Kelly was out with COVID, but of course, Danny Pinter was able to step up and play center very well for us, so we were able to protect Carson. Carson was sacked a couple of times, a couple of bad throws here and there, but 16 out of 22 with a touchdown. It's not a bad thing for me. So we got to continue to play football like this throughout the regular season, man. We're 7-6. We're in the hunt, as they say, but the remaining schedule after the bye week next week is going to be the Patriots, I believe the Cardinals, then the Raiders, and then the Jags. So the next three out of our next four games are going to be very, very, very challenging and very complex. We play New England at home. We go to Arizona, which is the best team in the NFL, and then we have to come back home against Vegas, and then obviously we go to Jacksonville to close out the year. So we will see. It is a very tough final four games of the year to close out. So happy we got the dub today, but again, bad Houston team. It is expected.
What do you think this next month for the Colts is going to end up turning out to be?
Truthfully, I think the only winnable games in terms of without being completely negative, just because of the inconsistencies in play calling, I would say would be Jacksonville and Vegas. It's going to be difficult to beat New England, especially depending on if you guys come off of a victory and or a loss. It's still a 6 or 7 game win streak. Your defense has been playing lights out. Bill Belichick, as long as we have been alive, has been an expert at taking away the number one offensive piece on any team he plays up against, and that's just going to be Jonathan Taylor. Now, granted, your rush defense is probably the worst part about your defense, considering you gave up 200 plus yards last week. So
Yeah.
we will see how we find a way to do that, but this is where I get worried about Frank Reich and his ability to play call consistently, because he thinks he can outcoach people. You're not outcoaching Bill Belichick. There's a very small group of people that have outcoached that man, and technically, I wouldn't even say outcoaching. People just don't execute on the defensive end, because there's only a few games that I've ever seen where Bill just gets completely massacred. Like the Patriots don't get blown out. You know what I mean? So worried about that game next week. The Cardinals, it depends on the health of DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. They both look to be relatively good today. I mean, D-Hop kind of looked like a little bit on the gingerly side with the hamstring. But if Kyler is 100% and that offense continues to play the way that they have, the defense got 4 interceptions today. So, I mean, it was against Andy Dalton. But, I mean, let's be honest, Carson Wentz has flashes of Andy Dalton-like passes when he starts to throw it left-handed and shit. And then, of course, you have Vegas. Another hot and cold team. There are days where Derek Carr looks absolutely perfect, and then there's games where they look completely lost. So that's a toss up. And then Jacksonville is Jacksonville. We almost lost them a couple of weeks back, so I can't say anything against them either. So the last month is going to be really, 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 really tough. I think it might be the toughest 4-game stretch remaining on a schedule in the AFC.